Hello friends, Hal here. Today we're doing a live chat at 9:06 a.m. We're a little bit late, but that's okay. Glad you're here with us. Let's see, it's the 18th of September in the morning here in the US, 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Edinburgh, Scotland. Today we're going to talk about how to analyze a piece of music. Okay, and that's the first thing we're going to do. Right, so what we'd like to do now is to show you in relation to a scale. Now here's a scale for you. Let me hold it up for you so you can see it better. See that? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Those are the notes in the C major scale. Now, you'll notice that I've got a little mark here between E and F and a little mark between B and C. And those marks are talking about semitones, or I guess they say semitones, perhaps, or half steps, as we say in the States. And a half step is from one note to another, like C, D, E, F, and then E to F is a half step or a semitone, and that's one fret. Now C to D is a tone or a whole step, and it does not have a mark there. There's actually a note in between, and that would be C sharp. And on the keyboard it would be a black key. So those are the notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, like that, right? Excuse me, I'm not warmed up this morning. So those are the notes from C to C. Now, to play, let's take something very simple. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. I'm going to play there we go, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And we're starting on the C note, going up to G, A, G, F, E, D, and C. Now, what we're going to do is show you what the chords are. I'm going to sing it. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Okay, now that's basically the tune. And so what we have is a C chord, which is what we call a one chord. Let me show you on this. Now I'm going to use the Roman numeral 1 because that's what we use in music. Right here you'll see the Roman numeral 1 under C, the Roman numeral 4 under F, and the Roman numeral 5 underneath the G note. And the C chord is called the 1 chord, the F is the 4 chord, and the G is the 5 chord. So what we do when we play that song, we play a C chord for both the C note and the G note. So that's a 1 chord. Now when we go up to A, we play an F chord back to the C chord on the G. And then when the melody goes down to F, that's it. We're going to play the G chord with the F note back to the C chord on the E note, and then the G chord on the D note, and then C back to the C note. So it's the 1 chord, 4, 1, 5, 1, 5, 1. And that's our progression. 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 5, 1. Okay? that's how we analyze the beginning of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Now the middle part, up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. It's a C chord, F chord, C chord, to a 5 chord, to the G chord. So it's a 1, 1, 4, and then 1 chord to a 5 chord, and then the same thing again. And we end on a 5 chord there, or the G chord. And the G chord, what it wants to do more than anything else is it wants to go back to the 1 chord. So we've got that G, and you can tell when we're playing that the song is not done, that it's just hanging there. Then we go back to, let's see, let's do that again. And then we go to the F chord. The notes in the melody, okay, the first note, which is a C, goes along with the 1 chord, or the C chord. The C is a chord tone. The notes in the C chord are C, E, and G. Okay? So it goes C, E, G. And now I've got a G note. So we go from a C note to a G note. And then we're going up to an A note. And the notes in the chord are F, A, C on that F chord. And we're playing an A note. So we're playing what we call the third of the chord. And then we go back to a C chord with the G in the melody, which is one of the chord tones. And then we go to an F note with the G chord. Right? Now the G chord has a G, a B, and a D in it. So it's got a G and a B and a D, but we're playing an F. So what does that mean? Well, that is the 7th of the chord. If we go G, A, B, so the G is what we call the root of the G chord. The B is the 3rd, G, A, B. The D in the chord, G, A, B, C, D, is the 5th. And the 7th is F, right? G, A, B, C, D, E, F. It's called the 7th. It makes a G7 chord. So that melody is an F, the chord is a G, right? And then we go back to a C chord on the E note, and then we go back to a G chord on the D note, which is a chord tone, and we finish on C, right? So that's how we analyze Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Let's do another analyzation. Let's do Hallelujah. And here you go. It's on the screen now. Hallelujah. Just click on that and it should take you right there. It did for me, so you should be fine. Now, Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen is in the key of C. So the same thing applies. The chords that we're using are C, and you know, those are all 1, 4, and 5, or C, F, and G. Those are major chords. But the notes, D, E, and A, the D is the 2 chord, right? The chord built on D would be the 2 chord, and that would be a D minor chord. The note built on E would be an E minor chord, E, G, B, and the note on A, A, C, E, would be an A minor chord. If we were to have a B chord from that key, it would be called a B diminished chord, BDF, but we don't have one in Hallelujah. So he does have an A minor chord. Yep, I'm just scanning this. Your first chord is a C chord, then going to an A minor chord, back to C, back to A minor. So what we do here for Hallelujah is we start out, I've heard there was a secret chord that David played, and it pleased the Lord. So we have a 1 chord going to a 4 chord, 1 chord going to a 4 chord. But you don't really care for music, do you? Right, so it's in, but you, F chord, which is 4, going to 5. Care for music, do ya? 1, back to 5. So the F is the 4 chord, the G is the 5, and the C is the 1. That is actually a cadence. Right? So right there he has a cadence. But you don't really care for music, do ya? Then he goes to a G before he goes back to the C chord. What is the function of the G chord? It's a 5. The G chord, the function of the G chord, which is a 5 chord, it wants to go to the 1 more than anything else. You know, when I play a scale like this, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, what do you want to hear next? You want to hear me going to the C chord, right? I mean to the C note. That's what you want. But here, this note is called the leading tone in the scale, that B note. And so the G chord, it has a B note in it, that one right there. And when it goes to C, it goes to there. So it goes, hear that? That's what the function of that chord is. The G chord wants to go to C because of the leading tone in it. Okay, so he plays a G, C, let's see, do ya, G, goes back to C. It goes like this, the 4th, the 5th, the minor fall, and the major lift. Now right there, that's an interesting line that he says, right? It goes like this, we're on the 1 chord, the 4th. This is actually the 4 chord in the key of C. So he's playing the 4 chord and he's saying the 4th, the 5th. And when he says 5th, it's a 5 chord. So he's just telling you basically what's going on in that song, theoretically. It goes like this, the 4th, the 5th, the minor fall. Now what happens here, this is interesting, the A minor chord, when he says minor fall, right, is the minor chord. It doesn't fall to A minor, it goes from G to A, which is up 1 note, which is kind of interesting. I wonder if he said the minor fall, I don't know, what's he going to say? And then he says the major lift. The major lift, right? The minor fall and the major lift. Okay, and the next one, the F chord, which is a 4 chord again, is a major chord. The baffled king. Now right there we just did a major lift, the baffled king. That is part of a cadence, right? F going to G, and the G wants to go to what? It wants to go to C. But you know what happens? And then we go to E. And now if you look right here, you'll notice, if you can see that, okay? E is not a part of this scale. There's an E minor chord in the C major scale, but there is no E chord. So where did that E chord come from? The baffled king composing hallelujah. Right there on hallelujah, he goes to A minor, which is the 6th chord. Here, let me write this down. 6, 7. Okay, the A minor is the 6th chord because it's built on the 6th note of the scale, right? The E minor is the 3 chord, but we've got an E chord going to an A minor chord on that line. Now check out what's going on here. If we were in the key of A minor, the notes are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then we're back to A. And the chords are identical as they are in C major. Okay? So A minor, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Now the chord that's built on the first note of the scale in A minor is what we call the 1 chord, A minor. The 5th note in the scale is an E minor chord. But what happens is that in minor, a lot of times what we do is we make the G sharp instead of G natural, like when you're making a note. Excuse me, that's major. Right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. But you'll hear this. Whoop, whoop. Right there. So we got the A, B, C, D, E, F, G sharp, A. And when we do that, when we build a chord on E, we'll use a G sharp note instead of a G natural to make a 5 chord that is major instead of minor. Okay? So we'll have an E chord instead of an E minor chord going to 1. Now remember what we said a little earlier, that the 5 chord wants to go to the 1 chord because it's got the leading tone. Well, the same thing happens in minor. When you make your G sharp, it turns into a really strong leading tone that wants to go to A. So our notes in E major are E, G sharp, B. Every other note in the scale, let me do something here to show you. Every other note in the scale, E, G sharp, B, and that G sharp wants to pull us back to A, and so that E chord pulls us back to A minor, and that's what they do right there on Hallelujah, is that they've got the baffled king composing Hallelujah. So what we actually do here is that we're in the key of C, we're going along, baffled king, and then all of a sudden we pop into E, the E chord, and we've actually changed keys for just a moment. And we're actually in A minor, but we don't know that until we get to A minor, just like that. So all of a sudden, now there's a name for that, really. We're not really changing keys. We are in a sense, but it's so quick because we're back to A minor. And then we go, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. So we've got this other, we're back into C major. Hallelujah, 4 chord, Hallelujah, 6 chord, Hallelujah, 4 chord, to 1, to 5, yeah. And then we're back to the intro again, which is a C going to an A minor chord, which is a 6 chord. So we're 1, 6. And we're kind of stuck in this little vamp. And you can do that as long as you want until you're ready to sing again. Your faith was strong, but you needed proof. Okay? So that's how that works in Hallelujah. Now, what I was going to say is that we didn't really pop into A minor for very long. It was only for a moment. And the E chord is what we call the 5, or the dominant of that scale. The G is the dominant of C. The G chord is the dominant of C major. The E chord is the dominant of A minor. And so what we call this is we call it a secondary dominant. We're going along in the key of C, and then all of a sudden we hit an E chord, which is totally out of the key, but it's really a dominant to A minor, or the 5 to A minor, as if it was in A minor, as if we were in A minor. So that's called a secondary dominant. Very common, happens. It's a wonderful mechanism to use to brighten up a song. And that's what you hear right there. Excuse me. The minor fall, let's see. It goes like this: the 4th, the 5th, the minor fall, and the major lift. The baffled king composing Hallelujah. Right? And it feels like a lift right there. Ooh, a major chord going to, and then minor, which is kind of mysterious. And then we go to F, which is the 4. And I love this part. Hallelujah, hallelujah. And that's a cadence right there. C, going to G, back to C. And then we get into that little chord progression, which is the vamp. Well, that's all I have for you today on the theory and pulling apart those two songs, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and Hallelujah. And I will take this video and publish it in a few days, hopefully. I've been kind of busy this last week with almonds and with pistachios. I've spent about 2 or 3 hours a day cultivating or harvesting almonds and pistachios. Some of my neighbors have almond and pistachio trees, and so we've been gathering those and drying those nuts and stuff. It's really fun. They're really good. So I've got videos coming out. All right, we have Brian with us. Brian, do you have any questions? No one else is asking any questions right now. I want to know if you have anything.